Here, let me show you another example of some of this pathing weirdness that's going on. This particular
Hey
NPC
there.
here is
Yeah?
assigned to this
Never mind. It's not important.
this scavenging station. Let me turn Fallout 4 down here a little bit. Give me 1 second. All right, there. So she's assigned to this scavenging station, but she cannot get to it. She keeps wanting to go this way to get to this, which is just here. Normally there was a big pile of rubble here, and it was considered non-pathable, but for some reason she's wanting to walk this way, which I put some steps going in this direction. Make sure I have the workshop thing turned off. But she, instead of just simply saying, I'm here, I'm going to go right here and do it, she wants to do, she wants to go with these steps. So I'm assuming she's up on the steps, and let me make this just a wild guess. She's up on the steps, and therefore she cannot get down because there's a gap between the nav mesh. All right, so let me drop a floor here. Let me see if I can find just a little bitty floor to drop on the ground. Something that looks a little bit busted up. Let's see. All right, let's knock this. Let's see. Do we turn this off? And let's turn off surface snap. Okay, so
How are you doing?
I guess you were the right person for the job, huh?
apparently not, because I can't get this to work. So let's see. Let's go down here. So see, now she could step off. All right, that I kind of get to a certain degree. So I'm gonna have to move. I'm gonna have to leave this up for whatever it is, so she can literally step off this freaking ladder. So now she was able to get off the ladder, but she can't get over to this. It's right there, clean open ground.
You realize how much you did.
And I have no ability that I know of to show nav meshes. What we need is we need an F4SE command to put a shader on a nav mesh, to be able to show where the nav meshes are, to literally see broken nav meshes in a settlement like this, because apparently she can't get that far. So I have no clue. If we put object snap on, what would happen if we did something like this, right? And then we go up and we do not that. Let's get this back on, and let's do something like that. Because sometimes when you do that, they'll immediately be able to path over to it. So if it's because of this ladder, let's move this over here. Let's see if the ladder is the issue. So let's put this here. Alright, and we'll take this up. Let's see if the ladder was blocking that. Or better yet, let's just give her a little bit more space between that and the ladder. And, see, I couldn't even get this guy, I couldn't even get this NPC to go up unless I put a bunch of mats down. So without the ability to see where the nav mesh is broken, there's just a lot of excessive objects here trying to get the nav meshing to work. And like I say, it was the mod that allowed scrapping of this. There was a shack back in here. It allowed scrapping this shack and scrapping this guard post that was here. Of course, I wound up putting one over here, and this wall. There was like a little doorway entrance. So for some reason, the object may have been scrapped and the nav mesh, but there's got to be some other data calculation going on. I'm not really sure what's up with that. Because you still have a pathing thing. So I don't know if when it scrapped it, there is a data table that has the doorway. So for example, you put a wall down, that wall has a doorway. There she goes. Okay, so if she makes it that far, then I'm going to assume, the only thing I can draw a conclusion on is it was because you couldn't make it this far, it's the location of this in conjunction with these concrete steps causing a problem. So I'm assuming she's building her she's building her AI. It's compiling the AI package so that way it can create a pathing. I'm just going to assume. Now, this is an assumption without looking at the data, because this is how I would
Yes?
do it,
Hey.
is instead of calculating this stuff constantly, I would create a path from XYZ coordinates. I would compile it. In a sense, it would be compiled. And once she finds a path to the object, because this is what's taken a long time, the engine is doing a lot of things. Even though it's multi-threaded, I'm assuming that threads are running on a lot of different NPCs and a lot of different objects, and that's why you see the idling.
I'm listening.
Yeah?
Never mind.
So
It's not important.
so technically she should have plenty of room, because this object says it's white. I mean, well, you know, it's not like it's like this where it's not, you know. So it looks like it should be just fine. So it's probably going to take her another 5 minutes to figure that out. And as long as she figures it out, that's okay. But like I said, these guys couldn't even get up here, because once I dropped a mat down, they instantly started walking over to it. So here's this is the only thing I can think of, just looking at behaviorally how this is functioning. You have a nav mesh in which you can nav cut. And you can see, like, you don't want to nav cut a door. So for example, you have a wall, and that wall has a 2D representation of its footprint. Its footprint is a 2D rectangle. You don't want to nav cut the rectangle, because that means that, according to the engine, there is no nav mesh to walk on. And the only two ways around that is if you provide data in the mesh that literally says, I'm going to nav mesh these two smaller rectangles, but I'm going to leave the center alone. And therefore it allows the nav mesh to continue through the door. Or you have to code it so that you know there is a door in the NIF, and therefore you have to try to calculate a path through that door. And that complicates pathing. That's the only two programmatic ways I could even conceive of doing something like that within reason. But like I was wanting to show you, this is just that example. So they still, like, it's almost like, even though the nav mesh says you can walk there, if the door theory is what I'm considering, then the door was added to a data set somewhere, and it includes a multi. It's almost like a multi-layered nav meshing. You have very simplistic nav meshing, which is like I was talking about earlier, with little like blocks, like little 2D rectangles, and then you can cut out of that 2D rectangle. But then you have more complicated nav meshing, because once you do your overall nav, you know, I'm going to call it like rough and fine tuned. So your rough nav meshing is what they, you know, like the little 2D walking surfaces. And then your fine nav meshing would take into consideration doors, things like that, what the object is. If that data is stored in a table for Hangman's Alley, even if I delete the object, that data might still be there, because the game didn't think that data could be deleted. So there was some kind of design thing that may not be taken into consideration, and that explains the pathing problem. Over here, I had to change this a little bit so that I could go up here. Now, I blocked this off, so technically this should have nav cutted something in, and then this is the only way they can get up to these beds. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know. Once I had put, I think it was, I think I had put this here, a little bit different. I think when I put the steps here, and then, not this platform, but the steps, this character actually walked over to her bed. She got here, but she couldn't go in here. She was not able, she walked over to this. So it's like she pathed to one of the objects she owned, but she was stuck here. Now, when you look at this, this is something they should be able to path to. But because the door is probably inside these walls, is combined inside the walls. I'm guessing that she cannot path in here, so she may never be able to go to this bed to sleep. And then, of course, if you take a look, happiness is going to go down. So here's my theory on that. What I think Bethesda did is they were looking to overly simplify common sense settlement building. Now, again, this is just a theory looking at how this works. It's like common sense stuff. So let's say you have a bed, but the NPC cannot get to it. Then therefore they're like, okay, we don't know what you did. There's no way we can look at the objects. That would make the code too big. So you put a bed down, and then you put a brick wall in front of the door. They can't get to the bed. Therefore, they can't sleep. So your design is flawed. And your design is not, and congruent is not the word I'm looking for. Your design is not applicable to, or it's not applicable and not applicable. It might work for the NPC. The NPC can't use or apply it. Therefore, happiness is going to go down. But clearly, you can see there is no problem getting in here, other than when I go this way, I had a little brief pause. See, I can go in here just fine. I can path to this just fine. Of course, my pathing and NPC pathing are sometimes two different things. So I can get into an area where the NPC cannot. So I think there's two different pathing layers. And the reason they did that, like I was saying in a video a while back, was it's too mathematically not challenging, but it's too CPU intensive to try to calculate that kind of detailed pathing for every single object and every single NPC. It's too CPU intensive. Your frame rate is going to suffer. So there was a trade-off. They come up with a trade-off. They simplified a trade-off, in my opinion, in how to deal with these type of issues. So happiness. So what the point I'm trying to make is because they cannot path to a bed. In other words, if it's not under a valid roof, which I do believe I have that turned off. And let me get out of this. I'm pretty sure I have that turned off in Workshop Framework. Let me just verify that to make sure, because I don't want to tell you something that's incorrect. But I do believe I have... Yeah, see, Shelter Mechanics is off. So therefore, it shouldn't matter if I even put the beds under the open sky. But because the NPC cannot path here, they're like, oh, there's bad design mechanics. Therefore, we can just say settlement happiness is going to go down. Oh, they can't path to where their task is located. It's like this person here, I believe, if I am not mistaken, is assigned here. I'm just guessing. Yeah, see? But she cannot do... I mean, it's right there. She's right on the mats, and she's right there. But she cannot get to this. She cannot do this for some reason. No clue why. There's no reason why she shouldn't. Right? But because she can't get to this, she cannot do her task. Therefore, I believe settlement happiness is going to go down. And there should be an option. And I know this would be on a community person or team, and that's really not a fair thing to do, to try to find a way to disable this kind, if this is happening, this kind of jankiness, because there is no reason why she cannot do this. There is no reason why this NPC cannot do that and cannot do that. Now, being able to see the nav mesh, the actual nav mesh, to visualize it, to show hidden objects. If showing hidden objects will show nav meshes, I might be able to see where the thing is broken. And that would be a clear visualization that, hey, you know, the nav mesh still is showing a wall here when there is no wall. That's why I took out the door. I had to take the door out because the door, it didn't even recognize the fact there was a door there. So when I would go here, even though the door was here, but the wall, I had to put the wall partially over inside of this wall. Then when I went here, I would get stuck. Even though I'm sitting square in front of the door, I got stuck because the game couldn't figure out that I was actually in front of a door. And I believe that had to do with the jankiness of how the engine's coded. If you go this way, I actually had to change this because instead of making this like an office, I just made it a little place to have an outhouse. However, I had to change the way the staircases worked because it simply, when I went in here, I couldn't even get in this area. I had a door here. When I went up this way, I couldn't get up here because the edge, I actually put a doorway where there was an edge here, and the edge blocked the NPC from going up. It actually blocked me. The game had to stop and think, oh, even though I'm here, right? So I put shower curtains there. And it was the same over, it was the same up here. See, I think they're going to have a problem with this because even though I can walk up this step, I'm walking up the corner of the step. Part of the step is in the wall. So I can try this. Let's see. I can try to do something like this. All right, let me see if I can get into it. It's not going to let me do it there. So let me see if I can do it here. All right, I was outside of workshop mode. So what I can try to do is go over to here and try moving this whole staircase this way. So it is no longer, Jesus, that's a big staircase. That's way too big. Over here, so it is no longer in the thing. It's no longer in the wall. All right, and then the only other thing I can try to do to block the staircase off would be to put some kind of miscellaneous thing in here. And again, this is a visual thing, but the trick, I think the trick in any system is to, let's see if this works. The trick in any system is to try to get, what you visually see tied in with what you, what the game can give the illusion of what you see. I'm gonna have to move this in to make it, to give the illusion of what you see. So in a sense, I would need like a more narrow staircase. Now, whether they can navigate this, I have no idea. I would have to put one up there. I'd have to grab one of these people, put them up there, and literally see if they can navigate down. So anyways, that's one of the things I wanted to show you, and some simple changes I had to make. I put some more beds up there, so, you know, if you come through there. I put a gun up there, and therefore it's just a wide open expanse, because even Ivy couldn't get in here, even though there was a door. She had no clue how to do it. And that put a little bit more space up there. I like the walkway better. I think it would be nicer to have a walkway with some seating up there, and then people can have, like, they can look out. So, you know, if you're up here, the seating would have been nicer for like a dining area where you could literally look out and see the water and see some distant horizon rather than just looking at a bunch of walls. And technically they could go out here. I mean, if you're talking more of a, you know, and they could sit here. There are tables for them to sit at, so they could do this. This is reasonable for them to do. And you know, and that would make it more, I think, kind of plausible to put some extra beds up there. I wanted to get at least 15. I'm not sure how many I have, but that's what I wanted to show you. That I think the reason this happiness goes down is because this NPC cannot walk this distance to get to that, and she's not going to be able to get to her bed. So, and I think that has to do with, again, broken nav meshing, and I don't have the ability to see the nav meshing. So it would almost be nice, it would be nice. Now, I don't know if this is a possibility, but this is thinking out loud. And right now, I don't have a good enough understanding of the data structures to even begin this. But somebody out there, they may. What would be nice is to include or to have a way to place nav mesh pieces, snappable nav meshing. So even though you can build your settlement, you can bring up a nav mesh layer in the game, not in the CK, but in the game, and connect the nav meshing yourself. So in a sense, not only are you building dynamically in the game the settlement objects, but you're also placing nav meshing. So let's say there would be an object that simply would be, it looks like a rug mat, for example, but it's an object, and the minute you place it, the script can call a function, like let's say an F4SE loaded plugin, that then dynamically places a nav meshed object in the game. And you know, this way you literally can create take this object and you can create your own dynamic pathing to fix these kind of issues. So anyways, that's just some thoughts I had. I thought I'd toss them out there. I'm actually doing some programming. I did a little modifications here, and that's probably what I'm going to be doing today. It'll be a short week. I've got to help. I need to help do some inventory at work. So we got inventory we got to make it through and all that good stuff. So I won't be able to do a whole lot of things this week, but I'll do as much as I can, and just kind of keep hammering towards the final goal.